Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the Darkest Timeline, and, this week on the Darkest Timeline, we're talking about rage. But not really. We're talking about control. The lack of control. Having control. Taking back control. It's all about control and other things. I've got TV stuff. Bit of a conversation about TV stuff. A few computer games dotted about. A big one in there. Didn't manage to get my film finished, so unfortunately no movies for you movie buffs out there. But come back next time. I'll have definitely finished the movie by then. Yeah. Before we get started, please do consider like, share, subscribe and comment. Leave a review where you can leave a review. And, yep, the big one. Share this bad boy around. Share the podcast around, please. Please, 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 please. Right, let's get started. Here we go. This is CookieCast, the Darkest Timeline. Hello. Is this working? It wasn't working a minute ago. I got real panicky. Oh, I got stressed. I got real stressed. Little live update. It's 10:10, and I've just started drinking a cold coffee. Can only be a bad thing. We will loop back to why it's 10:10 in a bit, because funnily enough, it ties into one of today's subjects. How are you all doing? Are you well? Are you good? If you're not, drop me an email. If you are, drop me an email. Say, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm just changing a plug. Did that thing, didn't I? No, it's not. I'm already lying. I'm already telling Parkies. I didn't do that thing. The evening was absolutely ruined before it even started. It was a very long, and I can only presume boring story involving some cinema tickets. So yeah. Right, let's have a little look. Let's see what we got. It's an interesting one. I say interesting. It's not going to be interesting. It's going to be dull as. But look at all these things that I should have done by now. Oh my days. Let's close that. And yeah. Alright, list. There's a subject matter on the list that I think I'll skip. Oh dear. The first thing I've written on my list is rage. And it's all in capital letters. I've been suffering. I've been dealing. Been living the rage life. No secret at this point in time. No surprise at this point in time. I have had my ups and downs when it comes to anger issues. I think we know this at this point. It's nothing new. It's not a surprise. We're not shocked by this. It's just a thing. I have done a series of things to try and change it, alleviate it, and other variety of things. Some of those things have worked a little bit, some of them have worked a lot, some of them have worked well, some of them didn't. So, I think the way to look at it is, whereas I was previously idling at like 80 mile an hour. You know when somebody says you went from 0 to 100? Bill Burr did a joke about, I went I went to 100, but what you don't understand is that I idle at 80. And that really resonated with me. I was always like, yeah, I'm not going from 0 to 100. I'm going from 80 to 100. Short distance. I think now I'm more at like a 60. Some days 40. And I don't want to toot my own horn, toot and all that, but massive improvement, huge improvement. Still have the tendency, the possibility of going nuclear. It's a different time. Not so much recently, though. Recently, I've been idling at about 95 and going from 95 to about 3,000. And it got bad. It was most things. It was kind of almost like a blast from the past, a little bit of nostalgia. And there was a point in time where Leanne said to me, she was like, what is going on with you? You are just sort of like angry, full of rage, all this. And I started saying, I don't know. And I got so far through it, and I went, no, that's not true. I do know. So I've got this thing at the moment. I'm trying not to get upset. This thing at the moment, like, there's been this shift in my life, my sort of family situation. Has been this shift. And I don't like it. And I feel like it's a situation that's running away with itself. And every time I sort of like grasp hold of it or another part of it or whatever, it just seems to like slip away. My eldest daughter's gone to secondary school that's far away. I just categorically see less of her. And I think I realised that it was affecting me in a bad way. And there's all this sort of, there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of limbo. There's like, is she coming and what time is she coming and what time is she going to get here and will she be here at this point? And what about next week? How's that going to work? And there's a lot of that stuff. And it seems like it's all the time. And there was a part of me that was like, oh, well, maybe the point is that it's supposed to highlight other areas of your life. Maybe you could focus on, this child a bit more or that child a bit more or, that sort of. I've got this real sort of thing with my youngest daughter. She keeps talking about all these different things, and I'm very sort of hyper aware that she's starting to sound like I felt as a child, and I'm like, that was not the plan here. That wasn't the plan at all. My thing has always been, if I can, do whatever it is possible to make it so that these children don't have to deal with really anything that I did, then I consider that to be a win. So to look at her and be like, well, she's saying things that I used to think as a child. So what's gone wrong there? So it's that kind of spending more time with her, trying to, ask her more questions, try and sort of involve yourself with what's going on, and what do you think about this? What do you feel about this? Let's do this sort of stuff. And then at various points, sort of like asking questions and things, and then also trying to sort of highlight, I understand what you mean. I understand what you're going through. I understand what you're experiencing. However, it doesn't have to be like this, or it doesn't need to be like that, but that sort of thing. And I was like, give me a good opportunity to spend time with my middle daughter, and sort of really cement that bond and have that time, and we can find some common ground, and her take on that is, I am probably going to find any way possible to not spend time with you. And I feel like all these children all of a sudden grew up. And one day they were children and the next day they weren't. And I was not prepared for this. I was not ready for this at all. In the slightest. I had a conversation with my youngest daughter this evening, and I said, if you were 15, I would expect to be having this conversation. And I again feel like I was maybe prepared to have this conversation because you're 15. But you're not. And it's just like that kind of what the hell's going on kind of situation. I got these weird issues with my son where, like, he's starting to do stuff that my youngest daughter used to do that just completely baffle me beyond belief. Like, on certain days, he's just awful. He's grumpy, miserable, acting up, whining, crying. Anything sets him off. He's tired, but he won't sleep. And it's just every single child tick box. Everything that you don't want. That's him. On that day, that is him. And there is pretty much nothing you can do to change that. Okay? The next day, he's happy, cheery, affectionate, give you a hug if you want one. He'll have a conversation with you. He'll tell you about his toys. He'll tell you what he wants to do that day. He tells you what he wants to eat for lunch. Just a absolute delight to spend time with, to be around, to have all of that. Same child, 2 different days. And I've been trying to say this to him. I've been trying to say to him, this doesn't make any sense. Yesterday, the world was ending. Today, I feel like you might ascend at some point with some sort of halo situation going on. It's mental. So, the theme of today's podcast is control. Largely a lack of. I've got this whole thing going on with all of these children, and apparently it turns out that the way that I process and deal and have this sort of outlay is through uncontrollable rage. So you've got that side of things going on. I was going to say something else. Oh, damn it. It's gone. but it hasn't. It's there, scratching the back of my brain, inside my eyes. Damn it. I've written something down on my list, but I don't think it's gonna be healthy to talk about it. I think last week I spoke about like your body remembering pain. October turns out October is a difficult month. Apparently, I went, hey, it's such a difficult month that the thing I'm going to do is find a way to add as much stress, apparently that's a word, to it as possible. So, like I say, the reason this podcast is now 22 minutes past 10, which if you use the 24-hour clock is 22:22, is because I was running around like headless chicken trying to get a load of stuff sorted for a birthday party, which... What happened to just booking creepy crawlies and being done with it? So... control and the lack of control. So we've got this. I think touch wood. I think I may be coming out the other side of it. It seemed to all converge on my eldest's birthday. I seem to think once I passed that point, it seems to have just subsided. I can't say for definite, but I think that's what's happened. So there's that. I've got this real problem at the moment. Years ago, I used to have a problem amongst many of a shopping kind of issue. It was a point in time in my life where had what is a complete unheard of thing in this day and age, but what was known as disposable income. And a person like me, who, you know, a collector of things and all those other sorts of things, all of this made for a bad combination. I'd be internet shopping. It was around about the time I discovered eBay. I used to come home like drunk and sit for hours on end just eBay sniping stuff, and then things would turn up at the house over the next few days and I'd have no idea what any of it was. So there was that time, and it was just a lot of action figures, a lot of comics, a lot of statues, a lot of whatever. And it was a real problem. It was a real issue. And then slowly but surely, I had to stop buying certain things. I'd stop buying Lego, and I'd stop buying collectibles, and I'd stop buying figures that lived in boxes on shelves, and all of this stuff went on. And just about the time that all of this was going on, I then had children, and I realised this amazing loophole. If you transfer all of your shopping whatevers onto a child or children, then it's all okay. You can spend as much as you want on a child. You can buy them whatever you want. Sometimes you're being a good parent. This was like, I'd cracked the code. This was the ultimate cheat code. This was the best. And it was that was me done. It was clothes, it was shoes, it was anything and everything. And I just satiate that need by buying stuff for children. And that kind of never really stopped until recently. So what happened recently was, I had a conversation with my son in a shop where I was toying with the idea of getting him like a little toy. So we went to the toy section and we started walking down the toy section and I was like, oh mate, there's that thing that you've got. We went a bit further, I was like, oh, you've got one of those as well. And then we went a bit further and I was like, oh, you've got all of those. And it was around about that point that it dawned on me that as we're walking through the toys section of a large shop, I'm like, we have a lot of this stuff. So I left and it kind of, in a way, it kind of put a stop to that. Now I'm just like, I go places and I'm like, you don't need it. And that's that. However, hasn't solved the problem completely. So things have got sort of a little bit out of hand, and I've stumbled across somebody sent me a link to a website. No, not one of those. And it was like, hey, do you want to get this game for the MetaQuest for next to no money? And I was like, how is this possible? And I was like, oh, it's just this website that sort of collects deals, puts them all in one place. I was like, okay, I mean, but that's insanity. That game's like 20-something pounds and they want like, I think it was like 89 pence for it. It was like, yeah, it's just a deal. It's just a deal that they found on the internet. Yeah, that kind of tickled an itch. So I started down this path of buying computer games, meta games, Steam games. And my favourite thing in the world at the moment, recently, is looking at the game on the website and it's like, you can have this game for 83 pence. Like, okay, cool. Then I go to Steam or to Meta or to wherever. I'm like, well, how much is it on the store? Like, this game is $21.99. I'm like, so you're saying you want $21.99, but I can get it for 83 pence? Yes, please. My favourite one recently was I was on Steam and they wanted £190 for like the entire game franchise for a particular franchise. £190. I was like, that's interesting because this website says I can have it for £8. So I paid my £8 and got every Star Wars game ever. And I went, cool. Then came the realisation that in the last month you can count on one hand the number of computer games I've played. Arizona Sunshine Remake, Batman Arkham Shadow, Dead Space Remake. You know, that's all. It's literally like, when I say a handful of games, that's that. So I was like, hang on a minute. Do we really need... It's 83 pence, but do we need it? And the answer was categorically, well, yeah, absolutely. I can tell you this much. I spent 20 minutes before starting this podcast buying computer games. Found a game. Found a game that Meta wanted £22 for. However, if you used a code from a website, you could have it for £4. So that's what I did. Found another deal. Dead Space 2 for £3. Sure. Zombie Army 4. I think that one was like £30. And I think I paid £4 for it earlier. At this point in time, so far, a day hasn't gone by that I haven't bought a game. And if we were talking about 40, 50, 60 quid games, that would be insanity. I would be categorically bankrupt at this point. But the way I do it, and you know, for what, whatever, look at however you want to slice it, I go, I'd pay £5 for a cup of coffee. So paying £3.80 for these 6 games is probably a better deal. And I buy them, and they go into my library, and then I never play them. And there was a point where I went, what exactly is going on here? And I realised that the two things go together. The thing I was talking about previously and this go together. Because it's control. The reason I was baking every single baked good I could think of was because it's control. You put your ingredients in the bowl, you mix them a particular way, you put them in a tin, you put them in the oven, you set how long you're going to cook, bake, however you want to put it, for, and then out it comes and you have a finished product. And you know something? The finished product I wasn't overly bothered by. And that's why I was always trying to get rid of them. I was like, can we give all of this to someone else? Because that bit wasn't the bit. It was everything up to that point that I was interested in. And it's all about this feeling of losing control around a particular thing. Over the last X number of years, I have just lost and lost and lost. It's just loss on top of loss on top of loss. And now we've entered this new section, this new time of loss. Is there any wonder that I'm running around the internet looking for 83p games? Going, look at that, it's an absolute bargain, 83 pence. I could have 6 cups of coffee for that. Wait, no. No, that's not how that works. I could buy 6 of those for the price of a cup. You get it. I don't have to explain myself to you. You're not my boss. I mean, technically you kind of are, but... So, I had this realisation. I was like, there, I've worked it out. And obviously, that solved all the problems. And put an end to it. And as I said, I bought 4 games before I started this. 4 games. And do you know how much I paid for those 4 games? I think I paid about £16. But that £16, and here's the absolute beauty in it. That £16 was already in my account. Like my Steam account's got like credit, my Meta account's got credit. Because I've been like building up these accounts, working towards the back end of the year, because I know the back end of the year all the sales are going to start hitting. The Meta Quest account I've been trying to bump up because of all these VR games that have been coming along. So it's not even real money. Something I had to deal with recently. Deal with maybe a strong... Deal with maybe not the thing I'm trying to say. A little while ago I was taking my children swimming and walking away from the swimming pool and just being like, I'm never taking them swimming again because they don't swim. Leon's like, have you thought that maybe that's not why they want to go swimming? I'm like, it's called swimming. Yeah, but that's not fun. And it's that thing of like having to look at a situation and go, okay, well, this is a situation that could be fun, but it's not fun and nobody's having a good time and we're all falling out and everybody's miserable. Or an alternative to that is I take a step back from it and I go, okay, so how do we make this thing that could be fun? And more often than not, it's a situation of I have to take a step back and just let them get on with it and do what they want to do. Recently, another one of these situations has presented itself. And as I said to Leanne, the problem we've got here is that this is a different situation. And the situation is that it's quite expensive. It's quite an expensive activity. It's quite an expensive pastime. It's quite an expensive hobby. All of these things, there is an expense. Now, you can almost guarantee at the point in time that I actually have to pay out for it, or whatever, it's generally at the worst possible time for me financially. You know, you've got those times where you're like, oh, if I needed to pay for something now, I'd be okay. And then you have like a little bit later in the month, you've had to pay an unexpected bill, or you've had to like pay for some specific thing or whatever. And you're like, if I had to pay out for something now, I could do it. It's just a little bit more of a struggle, just a little bit more difficult. And then you get a few more days, a week or so into the month, and you're like, I've had a couple of unexpected bills here. I misjudged. You know, the one for me that always catches me out, even though, and this is a genuine thing, even though I spent all the time around this trying to be as super organised as possible, the one that always catches me out is the dog biscuits. Because the dog biscuits go from being, oh, there's plenty in that bag, to that bag's nearly empty in a split second. And I always go, balls, I'm going to have to buy dog biscuits. And recently I've had to make a switch, dog biscuit wise, because the biscuits I was buying were horrifically expensive. And Lamb was like, you do know you can get like cheaper ones? And I was like, yeah, but cheaper ones to me say not as good quality. She's like, yeah, but if you could pay half the price and get the same amount, is that not okay? And I was like, yeah, but what I'm saying is, if they're not as good quality, if they're not good quality, then you're just paying for a bad product. So one of those, a little bit of a googly moogly. Next thing is like, I think I found one that ticks all the boxes and it's cheaper. I was like, let's try it. But like I say, I can guarantee categorically, without a shadow of a doubt, that the one point in time I have to pay out for these activities is at the one point in time where I go, I could really do without having to pay out for X. Because of having to pay this money out, and because of it 9 times out of 10 being at the worst possible time to have to pay for it, I have this real thing of, if we're here to do the activity, because ultimately I'm paying for it. I've recently had to deal with the fact that I think the activity is only part of it for my children. And I reached a point where I was getting quite annoyed, because I'm like, this is not what we're here for. We're supposed to be here doing this activity, and we're not. We're turning up and we're doing a tiny little bit, and then we're just, for want of a better way of putting it, we're just tossing it off. I'm Like, it's like some sort of social experiment. Hey, let's go to do this thing, but not actually do it. And as you can tell, I was getting a bit flustered. So I'm having this conversation with Leanne, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. I don't know why I bother. I don't know why I'm paying for it. I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we're doing that. I don't know what's the point. Why do we even bother? Blah, blah, blah. She was like, you have to look at it. You have to look at a bigger picture. I was like, okay. Like, that's not just what it's about for them, though. You have to go all the way back to when they started this activity and how it was in those days. That's how it is for them. Fast forward a year, 18 months, a couple of years. For them, as children, it is still that way. I'm like, yeah, but things have changed, things have moved on. And it's like, yeah, but they haven't. For them, it's still the same. I'm like, oh. I suppose that makes sense. Then I did bring up, I was like, yeah, but it's costing me a fortune. She's like, yeah, you know, it is what it is. I think if you look at a bigger picture, you know, you're still getting your money's worth. It's just over a longer period of time. I was like, right, okay, fine. I don't want to be that parent that's like, get on and do it and just get it done. And I hope there is an aspect. There's an aspect that I am that parent though. And more recently, me and my eldest have been sort of like banging heads a little bit. Because I'm a bit like, do it, get it done. And she's like, I can't. I'm like, you can. So, you know, try and all this and the other. So, yeah, that's been fun. It's been a fun one. Weighed myself this morning. It wasn't good. Put more weight this week. Starting to think that I might actually be back to where in fact, I meant to look it up. Let me have a look. Might be back to where I was when I started. No, I'm not. Which, you know, is kind of good, but I'm not far off. And I'm certainly a lot further away from where I was. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Yeah, me and Leanne got into a conversation where I was saying, I know what went wrong. I think I said on the podcast last week or something that I never sort of reset the base weight. I just went in at the deep end with, I want to eat this. I haven't eaten in 8 days. Which is obviously the wrong answer. Was absolutely 100% convinced I was going to start fast this week. Try and recapture it as quickly as possible. However, I didn't start last night. So I was definitely going to start today. And then I bought some grapes. And I ate those grapes. Yeah, that was kind of the end of that. Because grapes ain't on the fasting diet. This week would have been the perfect week. To a degree. It could also be the not perfect week. I think we'll only find out after. It'll be one of those where I look back and go, oh, definitely could have done it. Or, oh, probably best I didn't do it. So I think that's kind of where I'm at. at with that one. had a situation this morning where I hate for all you Grinch fans out there. I hate Mondays. I hate Monday mornings. I hate them beyond belief. And I know there's nobody out there that loves Monday mornings, but my Monday morning's worse than yours. A little bit like that. I was going to say, no, I don't mean that, but no, it is a little bit like that. I hate Monday mornings. However, it's half term. So, dropped my son off at nursery. I walked out, I got in the car. As I got in the car, I looked at the time. I drove from my son's nursery to basically go to the other side of town. When I was halfway there, I looked at the clock and it had taken me 4 minutes. When I got parked, when I reached my destination, you have reached your destination. When I reached my destination, it took 9 minutes. Normally, that would be a 29-minute journey. It took me 9 minutes this morning. And it got me thinking. I was like, okay, let's look at this one, shall we? I think it's like a series of different factors. Number one, half term means less people on the roads, full stop. Because a percentage of people have to take the time off work. So those people are not going to work. Simple as that. Next, a percentage, and I think we can all agree on this one, a high percentage of the vehicles on the road at 8:30 on a morning are people taking their children to school. And honestly, why? I had 3 conversations today, and all 3 of those conversations were the same, and the conversation was this. Can you imagine if there was a big, vehicle with wheels that could travel around and collect school children, 30, 40 at a time, and deposit them at school? And if you times that by, 6, let's say, that would be 6 vehicles, admittedly large ones, on the roads, versus, what's that? Okay, I can do the math. 240 cars. Working on the principle that each of those children is a single child, not a sibling, and each of those one has a car attached to it. Now then, if you look at something like a secondary school, 240 children, nowhere near enough. You're looking like, 1,500, 2,000 children or whatever it is to a secondary school these days. So obviously you'd have to increase the number of buses. You do that, and then for every bus load you increase, you reduce the number of cars on the road by 40. On average, let's say. All of a sudden, everybody's going to school and everybody's going to work and everybody's getting where they're supposed to be going in a timely manner. Why has nobody looked at this situation and gone, this is absolute insanity. Let's do something about it. Somewhere out there is a person who is in charge of this situation who has decided, I'm not going to do anything about this because it's great sitting in traffic all fucking morning. Another absolute classic, a perler, if ever there was one, is when they go, it's half term. This is absolutely the best point in time to do a load of roadworks on major roads through the city. This is 2 lanes, but they go to different places. We're going to close one of those 2 lanes. I mean, it sounds dumb, so yeah, do that. Why would you look at one journey taking 29 minutes and another journey that takes 9 minutes and go, the 29 minute is the better version? Why would anybody do that? I don't understand why. Why isn't there like a group of people out there in the world whose job it is to make everybody's lives better? Like, I don't know, like if you had like, let's say, for example, just throwing this as an idea out there, let's say you had elected officials whose sole job it was to make your life better. You put them in a position of power, let's say, where they have all the power they need to make the changes that are needed to make your life better. You give them that power and they use that power to make your life and the lives around you, of the people around you, better. Now, I know that's a crazy concept, but I think it could take off if enough people got behind it. But I'm a dreamer. That's the week. Never did finish the film I was watching, I'm afraid. So no movie this week. Also, I did look up what episode of Atlanta I watched. Oh, 2 ticks. Where am I looking? The Disney. Where is it? It's here. What am I looking for? When do we want it? Yesterday. Oh yeah, running out of battery as always. It's not Bluey. Atlanta. I watched season 2, episode 5. This is one of the episodes that definitely falls into the it's a comedy. I think I mentioned this before. I'm sure that Atlanta is put in a comedy category. And there are episodes where you go, I laughed once, but other than that, it was just an episode. And there are other episodes where you just rolling around laughing. This was very much a you're rolling around laughing kind of episode. It was I don't know if Donald Glover was even in that episode. Paperboy, who's the other main character, had gone to get a haircut, and it was an entire episode about him getting a haircut, and it was hilarious. Sometimes those episodes are a little bit of a palate cleanser because other episodes get real deep. So yeah, all good. Still enjoying it. Still plugging away at it. Speaking of things I enjoy, I finished series 2 of Mr. In Between. Somewhat related matter. The last episode of series 2 is very emotional, which isn't great if you're running on a treadmill at the point in time you're watching it going, this is really emotional. Dealt with the subject matter, which is a difficult subject matter for me, and it was just emotional. It was one of those. The subject in question had been coming for a while. I thought we were going to deal with it a lot sooner, but didn't. But then we did, and it was almost like a weird shock in a way. super sad, super emotional, really sort of struck a chord with me, especially with some of the stuff that I've been sort of dealing with, and it all just came to a head. Part of me wonders if that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me on a personal level. I don't know. But yes, have moved on to series 3. Haven't finished a full episode yet, but I am aware, like from interviews and stuff, that they said series 3 was really for the fans, as they said. I know this series really really ramps up. It seems weird to say it, but really ramps up the criminal element. I think I've sort of mentioned that Ray, the main character, sort of feels like he goes from low-level crook in the first series to like a hitman, fixer type person. In the second series, from what I'm aware, in the third series, it's all like gun running and those sorts of things. So, unfortunately, as we know, this is the last series. I am going to be genuinely sad when it ends. I think it's been fantastic. I actually meant to look up what the main guy has done since. How do I get into? I was also listening to a podcast where I was convinced that somebody was saying that they had a production company, and I was like, I feel like that production company is the company that makes Mr. In Between. See production info. Oh, yeah, the dog. Oh, man. It was real sad. What the hell am I looking for? I'm looking for this guy. Okay, known for... Nothing. That's so weird. That's weird. I don't know how to, because I don't have that kind of. If you wouldn't, oh God, now I'm going to get old. If you were in a successful TV, if you created a successful TV show, super successful in a lot of ways, and you were like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, which I believe was the way it sort of went. I think he was like, we did 2 series and I was happy with that, but everybody wanted another series, so we did a 3rd series for the fans, and that was me done. And then according to IMDb, he's done nothing since. Hasn't acted, produced, directed, anything. Hasn't written anything. I mean, I can't imagine any of that's true, but maybe it was a situation where he just took the money and run sort of situation. But yeah. I'm not sure I know where I was going with that. Oh yeah, I was saying I'm going to be sad when it's over. I am going to be sad when it's over. I am. It's been enjoyable. It's been emotional. It's been funny. I personally think I will probably watch it again at some point in the future. it has that feel of, I could watch this again. So yeah. Computer game wise, I've been spending a lot of time on the VR. So let's talk about something that's not VR. Let's talk about Dead Space Remake. I will have reviewed Dead Space Remake at the time I played it. And I'm going to probably say I probably didn't review it very well. I'll have probably said, it's very good, but really, do we need it? It's fine, but it's exactly the same as the original, but worse. I don't know if you realise this, but at this point, I am predisposed to hate things. And I've spoken about this in the past, but I'm because I think I'm supposed to do that. I don't think I can go, I really like this. So I think I have to go, I can't say I really like it, so I should say that I don't like it. Here we go. I can really find something to hate about it. And that's how I review stuff. If you go through pretty much every review I've ever done of something that I like, it goes like this. I really enjoyed it. But, and then I go on about all the terrible things about it. P.S. I'm going to review a game in a bit. Keep your eyes peeled for that one. Dead Space is hands down one of my favourite games. It is my top 5 games. It is possibly bordering on perfect. Now, as I've said before, the perfect rating does not mean it's the best. Something can be perfect and not the best. You can have a perfect film that's not the best film. You can have a perfect game that's not the best game. Dead Space is one of my top 5 favourite games of all time. I have played it so many times. On average, I play it once every 6 months, and I have done that since the Xbox 360 days. I'm not lying, I'm not joking. I played Dead Space that much that I was playing Dead Space, the original version of it, just before the remake came out, and I then played the remake. This could be why I potentially didn't review overly highly to start with. I recently played it again, and it was a different experience. I think I was a little bit more removed from it, so I was able to play it as a separate thing. Yes, it's a remake. Yes, it's a reboot. Yes, it looks exactly the same. It's just different. However, if you separate the two entities completely, even though they're the same, they look the same, they play the same, etc., separate the two entities entirely, you end up with 2 separate games, and you can review them on those merits. Dead Space Remake has some things I don't like. The reliance on darkness is beyond me. Yes, this playthrough I had to crank the brightness up because I was struggling to see that badly that it was hurting my eyes because I was straining to see stuff. I had to turn the brightness up. In some ways I felt like I was cheating, but man, that game is dark. Then it does this thing, I will have almost definitely mentioned this when I originally reviewed it. It does this thing where it turns the lights off. A terrible game trope where they go, we're going to make it dark and scary and edgy by turning the lights off. Yeah, that was what you came up with. So that is all the stuff I'll have said originally. Not a lot has changed there. Stuff I like about it, I had to ask somebody who I know has played it if there'd been an update since I played it. And they were like, nope, that studio basically got shut down after the release of that game. Which I was honestly quite surprised to hear. I noticed that there's like a heartbeat effect. When you go through, like if you have a battle with like the monsters, like afterwards, you can hear your character's heartbeat elevated and then it sort of slowly, steadily comes down. Amazing effect. Great effect. There was some audio stuff that I probably missed the first time around. This time I really took my time with it. I was going in all the different rooms, looking for all of the sort of collectible things, weapon upgrades and stuff like that. Found loads, so that's probably a sign that I really didn't spend enough time with it originally. From a remake perspective, I think it stands up. I think it's good. A conversation I had with somebody today, we're both fans of the game and the franchise to a degree. We were both saying that the issue you've got is it's just unnecessary. The original Dead Space still stands up now. They could have just done some sort of like upscaling on the original and just done that. Legacy of Kain. So the Soul Reaver games, I'm pretty sure, are getting a remaster at the moment, and I've seen some of the development stuff for it. They could have just done that to Dead Space, just upscale it and be done with it. It would have looked phenomenal. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I even considered going back in again for another New Game Plus go around. There was a couple of weapons that I didn't quite... In fact, no, that's not true. There's one weapon that I've got left to fully upgrade, and that's it. However, from this playthrough and finding these additional weapon upgrades, I was like, oh, there's other stuff you can upgrade. So there's definitely still some meat on the bone. I do wonder about going back in. It's 8 minutes past 11. I just finished a coffee. Do with that information what you will. Right, let's talk VR. A couple of big ones here guys. A couple of biggies. First one, not so much. I paid the second Arizona Sunshine Remake DLC. And I think it took me 45 minutes. If you'd have charged me money for that originally, I would have come to your house and beat you to death with your own socks. That is a fucking insult. I am so glad I didn't pay for that originally. If you'd have got the two DLCs together, which I actually think was a thing, then fine. Still suffered with glitches. I had to redo the last bit of the game because I think it was that one where the audio dropped out and the subtitles went too quick, so I didn't know what happened, and then it just didn't end, and I'm like, I think this is broken. So I went back, redid it, got the ending. Good, but not money. Not money good. Don't charge me for that. I'll not thank you for that one. Obviously the big one, the biggest thing that everybody could possibly be talking about right now is Batman Arkham Shadow. I bought it the moment it was released. That is categorically not true. It was supposed to release at... No, it wasn't that one. So that one was supposed to release at 10 in the morning. When I went on at 10 in the morning, it was already out. I was like, cool. That's awesome. Bought it, paid for it. No problems paying for this one. And that was that. Shared my discount code with a friend who did not thank me in any way, shape or form. Instead, absolutely decided to have a go at me about it instead. So there's your good deed for the day. Let's put it that way. Anyway, let's get into the meat. Is it a great game? Yes. That's no surprise to anybody at this point in time. You will have had 50,000 reviews of this game by this point in time, and every single one of them will have told you it's great. Does it have its problems and issues? Absolutely. And the biggest one being is it's got quite a few bugs. And I ain't talking about... I was about to say the rats in the game, but they're not bugs. Why am I so stupid? It's got bugs. It's got game-breaking bugs. The biggest one so far is I walked into a room with Dr. Harleen Quinzel, and she was looking for something, and I was looking for something, and unfortunately that was the end of that conversation. Reloading the last checkpoint informed me that absolutely was not the end of that conversation. There was a lot more to it, and the game progressed. Problem being is you don't know. So sometimes when the game breaks, you don't know that it's broken, and it takes you a little while to work out, hang on, I think this might be broken. Originally there was all these sorts of things where I was going to say, oh, this is really hard and that's really hard and the other's really hard. You just have to, like with all the other Arkham games, you just have to get into the flow of it. You just have to learn the game, learn the fighting style. They've done an amazing job. They have done a truly amazing job to make you feel like you are in the VR version of Arkham. It's got the Arkham name. It's not made by Rocksteady, but honestly, I don't think you can tell. Things that have been done exceptionally well. Something I never in a million years thought I was going to say. The voice acting. They actually managed to find a guy to do Batman who does Batman justice. Because honestly, between Kevin Conroy and now, yeah, they haven't. I like Jensen Ackles, and there are times when I'm like, yeah, I can kind of deal with you as Batman, and there are other times when I'm like, I don't like you as Batman. The Batman's good. The Joker, spoilers, sorry. If the Joker was in it, he would also be good. I think Harley Quinn is potentially done by Harley Quinn. In fact, let's just look it up so that we're not. One thing I will say that is a massive drawback to this game, something that drives me up the freaking wall, is it has a terrible map system. The shortest version is if you don't know where you're going, you're just not going to be able to find it. Now, obviously, eventually you're going to get there because otherwise I wouldn't be progressing through the game the way I am. But the one thing that has really caused problems for me in this game, it's absolutely been the map system they've decided to use. It's nothing short of terrible. You physically cannot use it to find where you're supposed to be going. And I have put more time into going the wrong way and all that sort of stuff than anything else. So, yeah, I think I'd prefer some sort of waypoint system. Because, yeah, the map system, terrible. Okay, so you've got all these people, not one of those people is Batman. I'm so very confused. Why is Batman not... Why would you not have Batman as the... Do I have to go? A little confusing. Okay, this is just weird. Who is... We just don't get to find out who... We just don't get to know who Batman is. That's mental. Right, there's Alfred. Penguin. Ooh, that's a good one. Oh, here we go. Batman. Fuck me, it's right down the list. What was the other one I wanted to know? Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So, Harley Quinn, Tara Strong. Tara Strong's done the voice for Harley Quinn basically and everything. Harvey Dent is Troy Baker, who is also the Rat King, Two-Face, Joker, and Maroni. I'm pretty sure there was a point in time where Troy Baker did Batman and the Joker in something. I want to know who that is. Who is she? I don't know if this is probably the single most... she did a voice in Rick and Morty. Right. And you, sir, you do a lot of computer games. You were previously in a Batman game as the same character. Okay. And then we've got this guy, who is Batman. Interest, very strange. Wow. Mother flipping Ezio. Well, there you go. So, Ezio as Batman. That's mental. Batman Arkham Shadow is a fantastic game. There are points where I have to turn it off because my arms hurt. There are points where I have to turn it off because I'm pouring sweat. Another problem is you don't know when you want to turn it off because there's no loading screens, which is amazing. There's no chapters as such. There is, but it's a game that wants you to play it. It's a game that makes you play it. It's a game that draws you into a level where you're like, I can't find a point in time to turn this off because there's always something to do. It's phenomenal. It is absolutely a reason to buy a Quest headset. You get it free if you buy the new Quest. Part of me's like, that... part of me wants to say, I think that's bad business. I think you could sell the two separately. I think you could sell one on the merit of the other and vice versa, personally. So I feel it's a little bit in that bad business camp, but I don't know. I haven't finished it, but I'm starting to get a sense of back end type thing. I will say this, having looked through that cast list, I say I haven't met 2/3 of the characters, so that's going to be an interesting development. So yeah, honestly, it's fantastic. It's an absolute banger of a game. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I am thoroughly enjoying it. I'm going to continue enjoying it unless it now turns on me, like these things tend to do. Right, there we go. That's it. That's all. I will catch you next time. So there we go. What do you think to that? Another one done, another one gone. Big thank you for watching, big thank you for listening, big thank you for being here. Before you go, if I can just borrow you for 1 second, please do consider like, share, subscribe, comment. Leave reviews where you can leave reviews, and check out the website, thecookiecast.com. There we've got social media links and an email button, and that way you can get in touch with us. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to this awesome Cookie Cast.